Okay, we got the pump, guys. Remember the video I made 4 or 5 days ago? 6 days maybe. Lose track of time here, but made it in the middle of the night. Said, catch this falling knife. You could catch a nice little bounce. This could be a quick swing trade. Now, should you stay in crypto right now? What's going on with XRP? We're going to talk about both. And yeah, so, I think there's going to be more chop coming. I would say, partially in the United States, there's a lot of stuff that's very divisive right now. The political campaigns are getting everybody's feathers ruffled here in the United States. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the UK. It's almost pretty much a civil war at this point. Things are kind of unraveling, kind of from a world scene. But as far as what happened in Japan with their market collapsing and stuff like that, it seemed like, they had a rebound the next day, and then things kind of recovered. The U.S. markets recovered. And, for the time being, people have sort of thought, well, okay, this was just a isolated incident or something like that. I don't think so. I think that we're going to have a lot more downside. This whole thing's been a paper job for a long, long, long time. And there's a lot of metrics that have came out, and, the writing was really on the wall in 2022. I can't believe we made it through 2023 and then into 2024. But a lot of people are in trouble. I can just tell you that. Anecdotally and statistically, a lot of people are in trouble. So they don't have a lot of money to kind of shell over to, some of this, stuff like crypto. And you just kind of see that with the volumes. The trading volumes have never really got back to what they did last boom cycle. So I think we will have further chop, and I do think we'll see some retest of those, what we hit kind of this last time at 49,000. I think we, again, could dip into the mid, 40s, 45,000. I've mentioned that a few different times. And most of the time with markets, you're going to have to retest certain levels and see what's going to stick or see if it's going to punch through. All trend lines were really kind of broken on most alts and for Bitcoin. But, we do see that sometimes where we do have a strong wick down and it powers through. So we're back. So what's going on with XRP? So they basically had to pay the SEC $125 million extortion fee to be labeled not a security. This went on since 2021, and this has been the SEC's MO. They basically bully sue these different companies. They get them, they end up settling, and ultimately they have to pay a fine and they'll be labeled not a security. Same thing happened with EOS in the early days. They had to pay $16 million for the ICO that lasted a year, even though they blocked US customers, they blocked their addresses. They said, oh, well, they got on various different exchanges. I can already tell this, the situation I got with this phone, it's going to potentially overheat on me. I feel it getting hot. So anyway, guys, yeah, so with XRP, do I think it's a buy? Because it's been hovering around this 58 cents, 60 cents, and the move up was not very strong once they got this thing resolved. And I guess it cost the SEC like $338 million for this litigation and everything. Complete waste of taxpayer money, and oftentimes suing people and bullying people that may or may not be doing business in the United States. Pretty egregious. Donald Trump says day one he's going to fire Gary Gensler if he gets back in. Whether he's able to do that or not is a big question mark. And I've brought this up before. It's a lot of times the SEC chair is appointed by the president potentially, but it has to kind of pass through the Senate. So whatever. That being said, hopefully Gary Gensler gets fired one way or another, and this whole war on crypto will subside, and we won't have to worry kind of about this litigation and stuff. I did kind of check up on the Richard Hart lawsuit, which he's been a lot more active on Twitter recently. And, some people are saying, well, Hex has went down 99% since he launched, or, this, that, and the other. And, he kind of disappeared for a bit. They had a hard time serving him because I guess he lives in Finland. And he went elite monk status. And, I think it's funny, but they eventually did. He did ultimately respond to the lawsuit, and they've been going back and forth. But at the end of the day, the SEC is really kind of barking up the wrong tree with a lot of these a lot of these lawsuits. And ultimately, I don't think that they want to take any of these lawsuits all the way, because they don't want to set precedents in a situation where they actually kind of lose in front of a jury. So I don't think people are going to look at them favorably, and they try to settle these things, and it just goes on for years, and then ultimately they end up settling. And again, it's an extortion fee. It's basically a legalized mafia, and that's the justice system, guys. There's no justice in this world. And so as far as that goes, I think that this is a good opportunity. If you did jump in with a bunch of money for a quick swing trade, this could be a chance to maybe take something off the table and potentially reallocate. Now, this is a very, very hard conversation to have as far as kind of the overall economy, because people a lot of times won't agree kind of what's going on. But there's just so many things that I've heard, not to be like some sort of echo chamber and just kind of repeat a lot of the things that various people have said about different cycles. But whether you go back to 1913, whether you go back to 1971, whether you go back to 2009, at the end of the day, our money has been devalued, and the US dollar seems to be losing prominence in the world economy because there's other nations making moves to extract themselves from dealing potentially directly with the US dollar. There's a lot of things that show that our country is bankrupt. The United States is bankrupt. A lot of countries are bankrupt. And when this thing falls out, because usually the pendulum swings back the other way, and I see the likely thing that it swings back the other way, since you're going to have this major population issue. Elon posted this thing on Twitter, and that was actually pretty shocking. Some of the nations that were having major population decline or lower birth rates, essentially, even in places like Chile, even in places like Colombia, Poland, and Argentina, which a lot of those nations sort of surprised me. We know about the population decline in Italy, South Korea, Japan, and then for the United States, the only thing propping up, our population for a long time has been immigration. And they've let all these, foreigners just flood in from all over the world, whether that's, places in West Africa, whether that's Chinese, whether that's people coming from Latin America. There's just been people just spilling in. What about when they shut off the money that they've given those people? Because, they were giving these people loaded up debit cards, and some of these people kind of have the EBT, like food stamp thing, and I've seen some receipts where their balances were real high, almost like they had $13,000 and stuff in those accounts. What about when the money dries up? Because, they're only looking to really kind of run this really kind of through the election for the most part. And at some point, the well runs dry. What's going to happen with all those people? It's going to be all out chaos. Probably going to be a hard time getting them. They're going to have a hard time leaving if they want to leave themselves. And they're like, you know what? It's too expensive here. Because that's the truth. It's too expensive to live in the United States, Canada, Australia. It's too expensive. So I just think that geomaxing is going to become a bigger and bigger trend, whether that's for retirement or whether that's for just people trying to get out of here and try to stretch their US dollar, or just trying to get to a place where they're going to have more traction with women. Because I can tell you here, I can see it in the dating scene, and this isn't like a flex per se. It really isn't a flex, because I can't commit to these chicks for various different reasons. They're not really, you really can't invest long term in a lot of these chicks. But there's been like 3 chicks, all residents of Florida. That's kind of very odd kind of fact and stuff, that have essentially proposed for me to marry them and have a family and all this stuff, all within the last 3 weeks. And then a chick that I hadn't talked to for 2 years, who really catfished me, out in California, she suddenly reached out. And then she was asking how I was doing. And I wasn't really posting a bunch and anything on Instagram, so it wasn't like I had a particular post where, I was looking good or something like that. But anyway, she reached out to see what was going on. And anecdotally, this boss babe era, it's over. It's over. Um, Everybody's teeth are getting beaten in with inflation. I don't care who you are. If you haven't noticed inflation, that's cap. You're lying, you're lying, you're lying. Because for the last 2-3 years, we've seen the prices go up at the grocery store. We've dealt with the fuel prices. Obviously, the fuel prices were higher in 2022, but situation is not getting better. And guys just aren't going to invest full time. Some might, but you know, these chicks, they're looking to make a career move, and it might have to do with you saving them. But I don't know. I don't really have very many prospects here, to be honest with you, and most guys don't. A lot of guys have dealt, with the women in the United States, and anecdotally, the women were of a higher tier in Canada. They're a higher tier in Australia. They're just hotter on average. So once you've kind of been to these other places, and I mean, that's not even saying like going to, obviously these other places like Colombia, Argentina, Poland, all these other European nations and stuff like that. On average, the women are going to be hotter. So it's just getting hard for guys to invest in this. Everybody's getting beat up with inflation, and people are looking for the exit. The new American dream is to leave the United States. And I think that everybody is miscalculating how many people are going to leave the United States, whether, again, for retirement. You could move to the coast of Spain and be on the Mediterranean for about a third the cost it would be in Florida, or you could be, obviously in other places like Croatia, Poland. You could be in Sardinia in Italy for a lot cheaper. And not that every other place is perfect, but at the end of the day, there's not a lot of value left in the United States, Canada, Australia, these different places. So, it's weird because it's like some of these people have been sold a dream. They're coming here maybe for the time being because they're being financed to come here. The Biden administration admitted that they were flying people in so that there wasn't a choke point at the border. So, they should be held for treason. This whole election is going to get very divisive. And, it's just weighing on it's just stressing everybody out. And people are dealing with these high costs and stuff like that. And people are having issues of being laid off or finding other jobs. It's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. And no matter who's put in charge or whoever's running this country, which we don't know who's running this country, they aren't going to be able to fix it. I don't care who they are, they're not going to be able to fix it. So, because there's been too much money printed, we have devalued our currency so far. So, that being said, if the overall market goes down, like we saw the other day, it is going to pull crypto down, it seems. It's just hard to escape that, especially with these ETF products. So expect more chop. Got a couple memes running. FWOG, FWOG, that's been one of the ones, and it's been pumping here lately. But playing around with some of the memes and stuff like that. But this is kind of an opportunity to take a little profits if you're able to catch kind of this little rebound pump. Anyway, guys, what are you investing in? Follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steam, Twitter, Hive, DTube, Blur, everywhere.